multiply in terms of inequality, not only in terms of access, also in terms of water. How do they fetch water? How do they sustain water for daily consumption, but also farming? Well, I'll not go and explain, but we'll straight away go to different parts of the world in your 5 rural agrarian structure also transformed. This conversation obviously will bring in Bangladesh as a case study, as a point of reference, but not necessarily to focus on Bangladesh, because this is a global conversation. Because in the middle of the COP, there is very little reference or focus on farming, that too on small and marginal farmers. So what would be your take, essentially, in terms of where do you see 3 or 4 things that merit our attention?
Well, thank you. This is my core subject, credit. That's what I've been struggling with for all my life. Before you can debate whether you can do it this way or that way, it has to be done. The answer is as simple as that. For every single human being, credit is a human right. Why is it credit human right? We talk about right to speak, right to work, right to practice your religion. These are human rights. And right to your livelihood, that's your human right. I said, how do you begin that human right without introducing the right to credit as one of them? Because if you don't have that right, your right to livelihood disappears. Because you cannot establish right to livelihood without having credit in you. So your right to any other access to any right needs that facilitation from the credit side and so on. So I said, if we are listing all the human rights, you should be putting one more human right as number 1, right to credit, because that's where it all starts. Then you can make it so much easier. So this is my first issue, that it has to be for everybody. So this was taking the small farmers as a small issue, but the broader issue, whether we have established a right for finance to do that. Unfortunately, the financial system that we have never thought that way. It's a human right issue. It's an issue that you want to make money. In order to make money, you always look for the big guy who wants to borrow big money and has lots of collateral. The money goes to him. It doesn't go to the guy in the middle. It doesn't go to the guy at the bottom, because he cannot provide or she cannot provide you the collateral that you'll be looking for. So they couldn't care less with you. They stayed with that. It's still, the world system remains that way. Bulk of the credit, all the credit goes to the top people. A handful of people handles all the credit of the banking system and so on. So we need to redesign the banking system. That's the whole issue. In that effort, I was trying to see how I can give the money to the poor women. So people say this is a crazy thing. Even the middle income person cannot have access to credit. You're giving to the poor women. And then on top of it, not only I was saying that give it to the poor women, I was saying without collateral. You almost hit the very heart of the entire financial system. Collateral is the heart of the financial system. I want to get rid of it. No collateral. They're shocked. They don't deserve credit. Now he says credit without collateral. But he did that. It worked. Today it became very famous all over the world. Microcredit, they even gave me a Nobel Prize for that. So it's established. So the question of addressing a particular segment in the agricultural sector should be resolved in that spirit, that it can be done. You have to redesign the financial system itself. Old style of financial system will not work. Today, all you have is a card. That's all. That will entitle you to all the transactions that you want to make with any financial institutions. It will be, as I said, the human right is the establishment of that human right. This little card allows you to transact and so on, as long as you follow the rules. If you don't follow the rules, there are things that the system will work with you to make sure you go back to the rail again, you start running again. So that's what the financial system should be. Whether it's a small farmer, whether it's a farm worker, it doesn't matter. Worker has a right too. He can have this entitlement card for him or her to make that. And we emphasize the women, 100% women. That's what we did. It kind of defying all the norms. They will not touch the men. because man is the only person who can transact with the institution. We said, forget about man. We go straight to the women who never saw an institution in her life. And it worked in Bangladesh. People ask question, will it work in other countries? I said, if it works in Bangladesh, I can guarantee you it will work in the rest of the whole world. Because Bangladesh is the most difficult country so far. You can reach the women and reach the village women and trying to explain to them what money is. She said, I never touched money in my life. So that's where our starting point is. She's arguing that, no, don't give it to me because I never touched money in my life. So we'll take a few taka in our pocket and say, touch it, it's nothing, it's a piece of paper. So that you can overcome that whole fear of touching money. So what I would say, I will conclude here by saying it is not only doable, has to be done. It's a human right. It should not be escaping any single human being doing that. There are many big issues attached to it. Entrepreneurship, which is again something very fundamental to my question, and I will elaborate on that. But credit is the starting point for everybody. Thank you so much.
And it shows that between Asia and Africa, basically we're looking at 70 to 80%, including sub-Saharan Africa, it's over 80%. Basically, they're the ones who are holding the natural resource base. So I think when we are in COP, there are possibly 2-3 connects which should connect between the agriculture, farming, and climate change. One is that we are talking of the erosion of the natural resource base, which is soil, the natural capital. And it is the small and marginal farmers who actually hold it up. So when we talk of excess, Prince Jaime, and looking at Netherlands, I need not say why. Not only that Netherlands is a leader in global agriculture, not only in terms of trade, also in agri-tech.
Riaz was the ambassador of Bangladesh in the Netherlands and became a very good friend, not just to me, but to so many people. An incredible connector, and he brought now us together as well. And it's such an incredible honor to be with you, Dr. Yunus, such an inspiring man in the world that shows that change can happen, and you can empower people wherever they are and change the system. So that's your story is an important marker of our generations. And Bangladesh, you are a delta, we're a delta, and we've been collaborating, we've been learning from you as how you manage your delta. You've been learning from us how we manage our delta. We've been exchanging a lot of information and technology and ways forward. And every delta is different because of the people living there and how they live in the culture. So not one solution fits all, but still that's why we can learn a lot from each other. Now you said how many people are smallholder farmers? 500 million smallholder farmers. It's 1/3 of the global food supply. So this is an essential sector that is feeding us, that we're neglecting. So I think it's quite important. They live in poverty. There's inadequate access to land, inputs, credit. They have limited ability to invest, to increase profits or livelihoods, and often live in marginal lands that are extremely sensitive to climate change. So 1/3 of the global production of food is at risk of climate change. And the best form of adaptation is having an income and having a society be able to do adaptation in a collaboration. But that works with an economic income. So we need to focus on that and make a difference. And you were saying about climate tech. So the farmers, and that will be very interesting also hearing Dr. Yunus, it starts, and that's what I've seen reading about Bangladesh and other parts of the world, but you have already a digital ID as well, even for a lot of citizens, and bank accounts. So if aid needs to come, it can be mobilized quite fast. And credits was the start of this, to create a financial vehicle to the people. Now we need to increase the financial vehicle towards the smallholder farmers. And there's a couple of things holding back the finance. One is that the banks won't lend to poor people, as you've noticed before. Therefore, also not to smallholder farmers. They think it's too risky. They don't know how to assess the risk of a big group of people. So how do we de-risk? What we do in the Netherlands, in mostly in Africa, but we can do it elsewhere as well, is to finance guarantees to banks, so that they'll start to invest into the agricultural sector. Then they realize that the risks are not that bad, and then we realize that now the loans from the same banks are going without the guarantee. 1 acre fund, which we don't only give loans, but we also risk capacity, and it's the biggest insurance in Africa, and insures smallholder farmers throughout Africa on climate risks. And if you have that, then the farmers don't need to keep a buffer to be their own guarantee, and they can invest that buffer because there's a guarantee. You can attract loans, etc., and they become bankable as well. And we're supporting CGIR, which I hope might join this dialogue, maybe not. But CGIR, oh yeah, sorry, there we go. You have several hats, but and so this, well, you'll talk more about it. But it's an amazing organization that does research on climate effect on crops and how we can adapt for it. So we have to learn from you and own the data and the knowledge that you're producing, and make sure that we share it, and that farmers, smallholder farmers, can actually work with the data that science shows us. And our Wageningen University, which is the leading agriculture university in the world, is very much engaged into this kind of research as well. And lastly, it's finance. We're financing through IFAD, which is a UN sort of mini World Bank, financing smallholder farmers, and the IFC also. We have a means so that we can leverage private sector funding into the farming world. So we're trying to navigate this space to make it work, but we're still working from the premises of the old system and try to fix it. But I would love to hear from you, Dr. Yunus, but maybe I don't want to take over from the moderator, but how we navigate and what your advice would be, because my main reason to adapt this role here is to listen to Dr. Yunus.
You want me to respond to that here? Very well. Well, so quickly, if the machine doesn't work again and again, just kick it. Don't use it anymore. Build a new one. You're wasting your time. So if the financial system that is present now is not working for the purposes that you want it to work, don't try to fix it. Build a new financial system. It can be done. And that's the challenge that we took, and create a new bank with the new rules. And today, after all these years, when our banks have bad debt accumulated as 60%, 65% bad debts in Bangladeshi banks, Grameen Bank, which works parallelly in the same country with the poorer people, quote-unquote, supposedly risky people from their eyes, they will not come to lend them, their repayment rate is near 100%. So that shows that this is an obsolete institution. You don't need it anymore. It doesn't work. So you have to redesign a completely new one. I talked about the poor women and focused on women, etc., etc. But this is only one segment of the population. We talk about the small farmer. Farmer in Bangladesh usually is a man with something tied around his head and or a matal, something, hat, some. This is a typical face, a man with some beard or something. That's a farmer. I said, that's a wrong picture. The women are farmer too. But what is the women farmer picture? There is no women farmer picture. So we should be including women into that, because farming is not the only occupation. There are many other occupations. This is one. Number two, what about their children? They are income earners too. So why don't you create a financial institution which includes everybody? And when we are talking about the small farmer loan, it gives the impression that it's about farm loan, because that's why you define him as small farmer. So he has a farm loan. He is not only a farmer, he has other activities. He has a little shop, he has a little kind of household type businesses and so on. So you have to see his credit needs in totality, not just what's a seasonal need for this crop or seasonal need for that crop. That's why I talked about the card. Card means access to any finance. That card is a magic card. Whatever income you have, put into that card. Whatever money you need, take it out of the card. So finally, somebody is calculating, managing your money, whether you're running short of some money, you are needing some extra money, and so on. So we need to have a banking system where you don't have to go to an office. Today, luckily in Bangladesh, there are something like that. Bikash money goes everywhere. People send money, people borrow money, and so on. So it's already there. It's nothing to be reinvented or invented again. So this is the kind of thing. We have to find a banking system completely different than having a big signboard, big office, big lobby, and so on. That's the wrong way of talking about businesses, banking. That banking is for the rich guys, big guys, and so on. They feel comfortable. They feel safe coming to that bank. The person who has a little card, he or she feels safe too, because his or her money will never disappear. There will be interactions and so on, telling you what is happening with your money, what to do. To conclude that part, today Grameen Bank not only gives loans, billions of dollars in loans every year. The total loan they have received now, they have multiple of that amount as personal savings in the bank. So these are the women you are questioning. They lend money to the bank, more money, then the bank gives them the money. So you have completely, table has turned. That's the ability of individual woman, individual human being. It's not a woman, it's a human being. We have all the traits, all the characters, all the potentials of doing things on their own, provided we create the right kind of institution and right kind of policies. That's the need of the day. That's where you can integrate all these issues, climate and everything else, what we are talking about here in this ceremony, in this occasion. Thank you.
How would you take in terms, because it's not to talk about the grand strategy or the policy corrections, but in terms of bringing some illustration of possible correcting the ground, because you know the ground, what would be your take?
Thank you so much for the invitation to be here, Your Excellency. China, India and Bangladesh are the top producers. Bangladesh produces 7% globally. Rice production has tripled since the 1960s in Bangladesh. It has become a food basket with improved access to credit driving that change, which includes opportunities to access fertilizer, high-quality seeds, technical and genetic innovations in the mix. It now ranks the third largest global rice production system in the world, and it has really been driven by the acquisition of new technologies. In 2023, it showed the 6th consecutive year of growth. We are now looking at two aspects that are critically important in driving that. The first is the investment by government in innovation for smallholder farmers. The current R&D for Bangladesh is 0.03% of GDP. That compares to 0.54% in Vietnam, 0.7% in India, 2.5% in China. So there is certainly opportunity there. Since I want to tell you a little bit more about the CGIAR initiatives, one of which is the Asian megadeltas. In fact, Wageningen University has been very critical in that mix, and that combines, it is women in the context of Bangladesh that have also adopted mixed farming to complement cereal production, including cows, goats, poultry, fish and vegetable production, driving improved nutritional diets for the poor transferred. So Bangladesh has actually contributed 10 varieties to the Indian rice production system. And this has really revolutionized the opportunity to access seed. We're working with rice in the context of climate change. Bangladesh is highly susceptible to flooding, salinity, submergence, and we are actually using opportunities such as artificial intelligence in mining gene banks. We have the largest gene bank to accelerate innovations reaching farmers in rapid time. Okay. That's our greatest contribution in the next 5 years to ensuring self-sufficiency.
Right. We'll come back to you, but so this has been the point that I purposefully said, that when we look at finance on a standalone basis, I think the conversation do not move a little more. But in contemporary times, we have seen that when we bring in the digital applications, bringing AI, for example, or IoT, in Hyderabad, Indian state of the southern state of Andhra, formerly Andhra, they now have in their lands, small farmers sell 15 million IoT devices. As a result, the economics has changed considerably. As a result, the impact on the cost of finance or the need for finance has also significantly been impacted. Possibly in the times that we are in, because if you are to see in the intersection of climate change, vulnerability addressing and all, we may have to think, because we have things within our reach. You said in the UNGA, for example, in terms of unlocking technology. Would you come in possibly? Yeah. If you can introduce yourself.
Yes, I'll stand up so you can hear me a bit better. I'm Joram Schraven, Director of the Impact Department at FMO, the Dutch Development Bank.
And FMO has significant presence in Bangladesh for 2 decades now.
Absolutely, absolutely we do. So as a development banker, I have to say I was very happy to hear you say that credit needs to be a human right. I really believe that we need that kind of moral energy to have a chance of achieving the SDGs and also the climate goals that we're setting here together. And I also agree with you that there is a lot of work to be done in the financial sectors across the world before we get to that point. Now, to actually solving for access to finance for small-scale farmers and redesigning the financial sector, I would say we kind of need action at 3 levels. So the first one in countries like yourselves, because I think Bangladesh is actually quite advanced in terms of its financial sector, in terms of accessing small-scale farmers, in part because of all the inspired work that you've been doing. So in those cases, we can actually work through the local financial sector to get the job done, which for us, coming from the Netherlands, is of course the preferred way to go, because we can't go and finance small-scale farmers directly from The Hague. Now, where that doesn't work, we are also, and we can go into a few examples later, but we are starting to actually try and access kind of revolutionary players in the fintech and agtech type space that operate just on a completely different model from traditional banks, and we think that's a pretty promising way forward as well. And where that doesn't work yet, where there's no local players, we're trying to innovate and really redesign the financial kind of interventions almost at the meta level in the West, and we've been very fortunate with the Dutch government actually, who have a lot of time for creative solutions. So examples there are the IDH Farm Fit Fund, where the Dutch government came in with a kind of first loss, taking the initial risks, and then FMO and others have financed as well. And that's a fund that's really aimed at coming up with creative solutions in various markets where financial sectors haven't made this kind of evolution yet, to actually resolve matters. And the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development is another such kind of meta-innovation that FMO set up, and we work together with SNV, which is an NGO, so it's also a very creative partnership. And again, the Dutch government there has come in with first loss money to help take some of the risk. So these are the meta level, are some of the interventions, and we can unpack that a bit later, but I'll hand back to you.
Specifically, if I speak about our climate change, since we are sitting in the COP29 venue, we must look at the adaptation plan, the global adaptation plan, and the Bangladesh, what Bangladesh has done. We have developed our adaptation plan back in 2022, where food security is one of the important area, and it is there that technology already discussed that farmers should have access to the latest technologies and the information, the latest risk information. If we look at what has happened in 2024, we have developed a NAP back in 22, but within 2 years, the lot of context has been changed. So the scenario, the simulation we have done to prepare NAP, it is already changed. So glacier melting, due to glacier melting and other extreme heat wave and other thing, we have faced 4 consecutive floods in hill tracts areas and the areas, districts where never flood occurred. So this is the scenario in Bangladesh, and our farmers are not aware and informed about the science, what climate change is, and what threats it is bringing, and what COP29 is doing. More than 40,000 people we have flown away from different countries, and we all making carbon footprints, and they will bear the toll if we fail to get an optimum output or result from this COP. So this is the situation, but they are not informed. They are not aware what is happening in this world. So if we talk about their rights, they must have the rights to know what is happening, what is science is saying. So with financial inclusion, we believe that information is also right. And they should also know what not only climate change, the environmental degradation, the chemical pollution, the soil degradation, and other emerging issues that is contributing to the food security and the agriculture system. So overall, we need to look at the holistic picture, and the agriculture scientists, they are providing the knowledge, but there should be a mixing and blending of indigenous knowledge and use of the latest technology. And in our NAP, we have a lot of provisions, but due to the competition of resource scarcity and in terms of allocation in the budget, we all know that they are not a good bargainer and can't ensure the allocation for the cause of the farmers. So we would urge to look at the NAP and the emerging scenario and look at their farmers' task as a rights perspective, not...
Yes. Is there something that you think that, what would be your take on this in breaking the deadlock?
Thank you.
Particularly when the Prince Jaime has said about de-risking. De-risking is quite, some find it risky, but some actually shy away from that.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. Great pleasure to see you and hear you. IPS Interpress Service is an international news agency. I think it is the only news agency, and recognized very much by Professor Yunus, that our journalists go when nobody else goes. There are international news agencies, very good ones, but they don't fully focus on development issues. We do, and we are very proud of it. Our journalists are throughout the world in developing countries, so we don't fly in and fly out journalists. When there is a flood situation, when BBC comes, for example, to Bangladesh, it is our people on the ground that guide them to do the reporting. So we have people throughout the world on the ground, journalists. Even here we have a team. And one of the things that we really would like to do is take up more on these soft campaigns, credit as a human right. The situation of farmers, women farmers, 550 million stronghold small farmers are there throughout the world. The role of women in those households, in those farms, are not adequately portrayed, not because there is the desire, the lack of desire. It's more because of the opportunity the journalists do not get to go into the rural areas to report from there. At one point, we had also support from your country. We don't, but we hope that we will be able to have some kind of an agreement where we want to be talking to the rural people through rural journalists who need training to talk more about what it means to empower women, what it means to have women farmers, how much time they spend. And my experience, I worked for the United Nations International Fund for Agricultural Development for 25 years, and it was an incredible privilege to learn so much about not just the country where I was born, Bangladesh, but also the many other developing countries. So give us that opportunity, give the people who work with us, who are from developing countries. We want to walk the talk with you, where we are empowering them to tell their own stories and bring it forward. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
How private sector can be motivated to go for social business, and how it can be aligned with low-emission, climate-resilient development. Thank you.
I think it's the speakers at the back. My name is Saqib Haq. I'm from the International Center for Climate Change and Development. Thank you for the remarks on your speeches. I think those were some excellent points made by all of our panelists, which is about looking at not only working with communities, but bringing the leadership from communities. So the Honorable Chief Advisor's work on access to finance is vitally critical for us to make sure that we're actually providing finance to local leadership. But again, as long as finance, it should be about capacity building, making sure that local communities are the ones in leadership of their adaptation plans and taking that initiative forward. So I would please request in the deliberations and negotiations, please bring that forward. Thank you.
Anyone else, possibly the last one?
Hi, Professor Yunus. Jaspreet Kindra. I work for the UN. Hi, I'm Jaspreet Kindra. I work for the UN in New York for OCHA. My question is, how would you fix the climate finance here? How would you fix climate finance here?
My question is, climate change and effect of human. we have no control over that. But we can control our fate by adapting to the system. One of the adaptation in Bangladesh, I can see there is frequent flooding.
No, I'd request that we keep it to focus to this, because...
So, in the beginning of this year, when there was a flooding, the first thing that happened, we had the levee system that broke down. And that caused serious flooding in the hilly area. Do we have any plan to have our levee system, better levee system, so that even if the flooding is there, we can control it? I'm a civil engineer and I'm from Texas. So I think this is important for us, not only focus on the climate change, but also how can you adapt to it? What are the preventive measures that can you do? And having a better levee system across the country can help us prevent some of this flooding.
Yes, and the nature-based solutions, because when we have negotiations on adaptation, and this year it's not really strong on the agenda, we're working now towards the agenda of next COP to really push adaptation. But we are talking about adaptation finance, and I always keep on pushing and saying it needs to be locally led adaptation. That's where the solutions are, and that's what you need to support. And of course, the nature-based solutions that are linked to this. In the Netherlands, we combated water, talking about water. First by building dikes, and then we learned that we need to combat water, but also work with water, with nature. So we created overflow areas, which are now nature reserves, where nature can interact with man, and there's more and more breathing space for water, say, going forward. So these are local solutions that we found, and that's why we need to look globally towards local solutions that work on the ground in the area. And here, listening to the right of knowledge, the right of finance, but also organizing a society through national adaptation plans is quite important. So all these things can help eventually a farmer to become self-reliant, and we need to give the means, financial means, to be able to build up their own lives and feed themselves and the world. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I'll just touch on some of the points raised. One was the social business that you raised about. I feel and strongly advocate the banks or the financial system, the part which is addressing the people at the bottom, should be created as social business banks. So when you say bank, you always see that they must be making a lot of money. So that question should not be there when you are lending money to below a certain level of income. If you're above that, you want to make money, probably you do that, but at this level, you don't make money anymore. It is a social business. You do the business to solve the problem, rather than make money for yourself as a social business. And every country should have a social business banking law. See, governments are very quick to give you welfare, give you free money. Take care, you have housing, you have... Somehow government is very reluctant to give you a loan. They don't trust you. They will rather give it free. I said, you change your mind. You create a social business banking. This is their business. It's not government's business. It's their business to make sure that nobody should be on the payroll of the government, the free roll of the government. It's an insult to human being to give free money to human being. The human being is a very creative being. To put them into some kind of a free food, free money situation, you are humiliating, you are insulting the human being. That you put the person as like a human zoo. You stay there, you feed you be there, have your little life for yourself, but don't complain. That's not it. So it's doable. Finance for everybody is doable. That you have to convince yourself. And that's why we are talking about this little card. You start with that little card. Little card, we talked about the finance, lending money, yes. Taking deposit from you, yes. Most often we don't mention something. Also investment money. I'm an entrepreneur too. I'm a farmer, but at the same time I'm an entrepreneur. I want to sell my product as a little business, or collect the products from produced from my neighbors and sell it to a bigger market. I want to do that, but I don't have money. Any business needs money, investment money. So why don't you give me investment money because I set up my business? That card will give you that investment money. So if you integrate all the aspects of finance, it's not just lending money. When we talk about poor people, so far we are talking about microcredit, digital loan. We don't even talk about savings. Grameen Bank is a bank of savings and credit, both together. And also insurance. That also people forget. Grameen Bank is also a bank for insurance. They give health insurance to people. The whole chain of health centers began in Bangladesh through Grameen Bank intervention by creating healthcare centers with the money from the people who benefit from that. It's an insurance program. You take all the advantages of the thing, but annually you pay X amount of money. It's a very small amount of money every year. You give $5 a year. It's amazing. With $5, you can have annual kind of health services for yourself. So this is what the essence of finances are all about, that you have to have investment money available in this card, also insurance money available in this card. All this can be integrated. This is nothing shocking. It can be integrated, it can be done. Simply we don't pay attention to it. And all this to be done as a social business format, so that you don't go. See, one of the reasons some of the microcredit kind of failed, drew so many criticism, because they took the idea of microcredit and created a bank to make money for themselves. And they raised the interest rate, they could make all kinds of very difficult conditionalities imposed on the poor people and so on, and they blame microcredit. It's not microcredit that you are criticizing, it's about money making you're criticizing. So microcredit should be left to the social business. And on the social business, I'm very happy. In general, it is adapted very well around the world. UK has a whole program called Micro Enterprise UK. So Social Enterprise UK. It's inspired by social business that we do. So it's a standard program in the whole of UK. They do exactly what we are talking about, create social businesses, invest in social businesses. The fund came from UK government, from the banking system again. Banking system, dormant account. There's something called dormant account in banking system. Billions of dollars lies unused because somebody is not claiming that money anymore. Either they died or they don't know their inheritors, or don't know that bank account existed. It turns into billions of dollars unused. And banks use this money for their purpose because nobody is claiming it. So we kind of campaign that this money should be separated and just create a fund for social businesses. And if there is money, somebody claims after 20 years, 50 years, still this money is available, you can give it. But until then, it should not belong to the banking system. It should belong to the people. So UK has done this, Korea has done this, Japan has done this because of our initiative to make sure it's a huge amount of money in every country. I'm sure Netherlands has that money too, huge money. So make use of for people. So this is another one, social business. World Economic Forum, that everybody knows World Economic Forum. They created a micro enterprise foundation because of me. I was a board member, and they adopted the whole idea of social enterprise foundation. So they have annual convention along with the World Economic Forum and so on. So that's the one. There are more than 107 universities now. How many? 110. 110 universities, including universities in the China, in UK, in the USA, everywhere, who teaches social business as a course. They have social business centers in each university. So adoption as an academic year has been adopted by the top universities in the world. So they are teaching, giving courses to the centers and so on. So many social business have been created by big companies like Danone, which is in Bangladesh, Danone company producing yogurt. Uklena, they have created social business, and many other social business around the world, big social business. So adoption of social business is coming and being introduced, being debated, discussed how to do that. So this is something that excites young people. And particularly for Bangladesh, very important part of Bangladesh is median age for Bangladesh is 27 years. I repeat, median age for Bangladesh is 27 years, meaning half the population of Bangladesh is under 27 years. Can you imagine? Half the population under 27 years. Bangladesh is a country of young people. No country can beat them. Youth means creativity, power, changing the world. And that's what Bangladesh is all about. Give them a challenge. They will pick it up. Give them any idea. They will pick it up. They will come up with the idea. Just create the environment. And so that they can fly on their own. And that's what they do. Imagine that. 27 years, divide the whole population into half and half. If you go from 0 to 50 years, huge, almost you conclude the whole population, because very few on the other side, because of the heaviness on the bottom side is so big. So that is the power of Bangladesh, how to use that power of young people to make that happen. So these are the areas that we can concentrate on and challenge the whole world that the environmental disasters should not take place. That's where comes the social business again. We promote that what we call 30 clubs. Young people, 5 young people, because we focus on young people, there are millions of them, millions and millions in Bangladesh and all around the world. Young people get together, create a club, 30 club, for 5 people. 5 people get together. Their promise, the commitment is, I, as a member of the club, will not contribute to global warming. Can you imagine that? That promise? I, as a person, will not contribute to global warming. So they have to be very careful how I am contributing to the global warming. Am I using fossil fuel? If I am, I have to stop it, because that's my promise in the 30 Club. If I'm using it for 7 days a week, fossil fuel, I promise I'll do it 6 days a week. 1 day less. If you succeed, you say 5 days. If you succeed, 4 days. If you succeed, 3 days. And finally, 0 days. I don't use fossil fuel anymore. I don't use plastic. That's my commitment. I don't waste. I'm a zero waste person. So a member of the 30 Club is a zero waste person, is a zero fossil fuel person, zero emission person. And at the same time, zero wealth concentration person. I will not do anything which enhances wealth concentration. Money goes in one direction. I will not do that. How? I will practice social business. There is no profit in it. So there is no chance of wealth concentration because I don't own it anymore. It's not my money. I just take care of the money to do things to solve problems. And zero unemployment. Because I'm not a job seeker, I'm an entrepreneur. So if you are a member of the club, you make sure you become an entrepreneur. Never look for a job from anybody. Job is the tradition of slavery. Don't go for slavery. You be independent person. You create the world you want. 30 Club. And luckily, it is picked up by the young people. Now we have 7,000 clubs. We have more than 7,000 clubs in 40 countries. And it's increasing every day, picking up. So that they are making these promises and coming up in instances what they are doing. Their own way of solving that problem. That's what brings me here in the COP29. I said the issue of COP29 is not about money, which they are discussing all the time. It's about change habits. It's about lifestyle, the way we live. We create the problem, then we go and shout how to make the money, how to put the money. Stop creating the problem in the first place. Our daily life is about creating problem of everybody for the planet. So if we fix ourselves, then the world has no problem. We are the creator of all the problems of this planet, which problem this planet will not exist anymore. So we still have a window of time to save this planet by changing ourselves. That's a crucial fact that we want to communicate with the young people. They understand much better than all the big experts in the world. Thank you very much.
One would dare attempt any bit of summarization. There's no need. We're not here to get fixed policies or strategies. I think we're here essentially in the middle of the COP to hear or to share reflections and to do a little bit of stretching that what possibly we can think of. On that note, let me thank you, sir, in the Bangladesh Pavilion, and thank you very much for those who contributed to the conversation and those of you who bear with us for almost 55 minutes now. Thank you.